Hello everyone, this is Cameron. I am Andy's assistant coach in his coaching program, and today I'm bringing you a productivity guide, but not just any productivity guide. This is a productivity guide for lazy people, of which I am a self-admitted lazy person. And I think Andy has mentioned before on on the channel that he is also a self-admitted lazy person, or at least we both used to be. We both used to be very aware of how lazy we were. I, for instance, took a DOS subject at college, history, which would allow me to mostly drink and sleep away all 3 of my years at college. And after that, I went and did a job where I did actually have to do some work, but then I quit that after 3 years and went traveling. And at one point, I ended up in a city where I was living in a hostel where I would sleep away again most of the week. And during the weekend, I would go out, then I would sleep, then I would go out, then I would sleep. And I was pissing away all of my money, being lazy, doing nothing, not being productive. I got a taste of working and I ran away from it. But nowadays, it's not so much the case. Nowadays, I actually get a lot of shit done. And if you've seen Andy's channel, the channel you're on at the moment, obviously, you'll see that he is a bit of a psycho when it comes to content production. The man is crazy. The man puts out all of the stuff on this channel and also his podcast. These days, I do a lot of video creation as well. I have a channel that I co-own with someone who is the talent. So they're doing all of the on-camera stuff. And then I do literally everything else. So I do the production, help them with the ideas. Then I take the video and edit it, do the thumbnail, put it up, manage the channel generally. That's a nice one because, we've divided some of the work outputs, but I'm still, doing a lot of editing. And then I've got my own channel where I'm producing one short a day and I'm producing a couple of long form videos a month. And then on Andy's channel here, I'm now producing content for him. The total it comes to, I believe, is about 66 pieces of content a month. Now, 46 of those are short content, which is a little bit easier to produce. But still, you can see there, that is a lot of video content. On camera, I'm creating about half of that, but I'm editing all of it. So that's just the work I do in video production. And then I also do other things as well. I coach for Andy in his coaching program. And I also do my own coaching, mostly style consulting with my guys. I have a style course and I consult for guys in that group one-on-one as well. So doing a lot of things. Productivity is very necessary to me now. And I'm still the same guy fundamentally that I always was when it comes to wanting to be lazy. All I want to do is go and lay on the sofa over there and, watch stuff online. Just scroll Twitter, scroll YouTube. That's all I really want to do. And then I want to go out, meet my friends, get drunk. And then I want to recover from that debauchery by sleeping the whole day away. That's what I really want to do. I also want to go traveling and do it in other places, but generally just do that, but in other cities. So in this video, I want to go over all of the things I do to be productive, to get the amount of work done that I need to get done in a month, in a week. And it's all the stuff that I actually do and the stuff that I use. I was thinking about, going through all the techniques that the gurus suggest or the productivity guys suggest. But really, I am just a lazy dude and this is what I do to get work done. And that's what I'm going to go through now. Everything that I actually use and turn it into a guide for all of you. So stepping back for a second, I want to look at it from a position of if you are someone who wants to be lazy but you do have things you want to achieve and you're looking at it and you have a ton of resistance to just starting, to getting things done every single day, you've got a ton of resistance. You might want to question whether or not you actually want to do those things. Andy and I have this concept, and we've obviously learned it from other people as well, but overall, you want to move towards what feels easy, especially as someone with low motivation, low drive to be working super hard. If the hatred of what you're doing or trying to do is preventing you from being productive, then I think you need to reconsider what you're trying to do. I don't think guys who are, towards the lazy end like us are the guys that can hate their life and hate their work, but do it just to get to great wealth, for example. You'll be struggling with productivity forever. If you hate what you do and you're lazy, you're going to be absolutely hating it. I'd rather you start building up your productivity, working on things that you actually enjoy doing. Not everyone has to love what they do, but I definitely recommend guys who struggle with productivity to focus on things they actually enjoy doing. You don't have to enjoy 100% of it. One of our mentors, Caleb Jones, talks about an 80-20 split is what he's aiming for. So he wants to love 80% of what he does and hate 20%. That's roughly where I'm at now. Like probably more like 60-40 because I'm not a big fan of editing and I do a lot of that. We'll get onto that later. Have an overview of what you're trying to do. Do you actually want to do it enough to start doing it? Because if you're just procrastinating, you got a ton of resistance and you just end up watching Netflix all day, there may be more of a problem with you wanting to actually do it. So do what feels easy. Start with the things that feel easy. The stuff that feels easy for me is talking on camera, turning the camera on, talking to camera. That's always felt easy. I've always wanted to do this. It always feels exciting when I get to talk on camera. I also really enjoy nowadays like making thumbnails, being creative, coming up with that stuff. But the tons of stuff that I don't really like I don't really like the uploading to YouTube and dealing with all the background stuff. I don't like writing emails to people. I don't like, what else do I don't like? I don't really like editing. It's not big for me. There's a ton of stuff that I don't really like doing, but I have so much that I do love doing and I run towards it. So yeah, I'm moving towards the stuff that feels easy and trying to make that the majority of the stuff that I'm doing. This bit was really important, so I hope you guys don't skip over it and think about it. Think about what you're actually aiming for, the goals you have. Do you really want them now that you've experienced what the work is like to get them? Next, we're going to talk about minimum daily acceptable output. This is one of my big things. This is probably my biggest thing, okay? Because this is going to help you with your bad days. And if at the beginning, every day is kind of a bad day, this is really, really, really helpful. The daily minimum output is the absolute minimum that you can get done in a day that would count as a good day. The idea is to start small with this, like very, very small. Start with what you can actually manage, because then fundamentally we just want you to get started with anything anyway. And every week there's kind of that readjusting period after you come off your days off to getting back into it. So you have the daily minimum starting very low. It's very easy to get a run of acceptable days worth of work. And the idea is to increase this as you go up. I'm trying to think of examples now to give you like an example. When I first started talking to girls and I was working in my relationship and my dating, it was a case of one approach a day. You're going to go and cold approach one girl. It can be at a bar, it can be in the daytime, wherever. And then it was send, I think it was 30 messages on the apps every single day. And that was the minimum. And as long as I got that done, it was fine. Obviously, I could go up and do way more approaches. I could do like 5 approaches in a day or 10 approaches. But that was the minimum amount. And this was the only thing I was focusing on. So I was going to get out there every day and work on this. And obviously on the apps, you can send way more messages than that. But like, that was my minimum. And it was like an anchor, It was especially good for not beating myself up as well. Because if you meet the minimum, you have no expectations for like, I could have done more. It's like, no, you were having a bad day and you met your minimum output. The point of this as well is like with the slight edge that Andy talks about, those like, in the aggregate, if you get a ton of these days, if you do 100 days of just your minimum, you have stacked up so much progress because you have just gotten better and better at the stuff you're trying to do. So it's part of that as well. This is really to make sure that you're taking action every single day, having a minimum that you can always achieve, and then incrementally just stacking those days up. The idea is you eventually increase as your capacity increases. So like every 3 months or so, I will try and review what my minimum daily output is. And if I think I can increase it based on what my capacity feels like, I will. And then as you get through the year, as you stack years on years, your minimum day capacity has also increased. This will show you what it's like if you're consistent for a while, this will show you what it's like and how powerful being consistent is and how powerful it is in your self-improvement and self-development. This is why you may not call me lazy anymore. I still view myself as someone who's drawn to be lazy, but I have a much higher minimum output day than I did 3 years ago. This makes me appear not lazy even though I still am. So yeah, start slow. Set this down at a level where it's really easily achievable because you're going to build it up anyway. The next thing I want to talk about is something interesting that I learned from Alex Hormozy. It was sleeping pattern. This is surprisingly important. And he breaks it down into chronotypes, which I believe are dolphin, lion, bear, wolf. I'm looking at my notes to make sure that's real. When you know your sleeping pattern, you will also be able to work out where your most productive hours are. And we talked about the daily minimum. So you would want to try and get the majority of the work towards that in your productive hours. Knowing your sleeping pattern, knowing your productive hours, really, really helpful. We aren't expecting you to be able to do like 8 to 10 hour work days on your goals. especially if you're working a 9 to 5. But you can do like an hour, you can do 2 hours. And if you know based on your sleep pattern where the best place to put those hours are, then you can start doing this with a relative amount of ease. So that's what I would suggest, is you find out what your chronotype is, which you just have to Google chronotype and it will give you a rough idea. Then you just got to think about, how do I wake up? When do I feel most awake? When have I historically had my most productive hours? Mine, for example, are 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. Sometimes I actually skip lunch to get the most out of those 4 hours. It's typically around 4 hours worth is your most productive hour window. After that ends, I will typically do less intensive work. Like I'll do like brainstorming ideas and notes. Before that, I do lower intensity work that doesn't require as much thought, but I still, I can still get it done. We'll talk about that in a second, what I do first thing in the morning, actually. Knowing this, knowing my sleeping pattern and knowing my productive hour window has revolutionized how productive I am in the last year or so. Because I've really been ramping up in the last year or so to be working 6-day weeks, trying to get 8 hours a day in solid, up to 10 hours. This stuff has revolutionized everything for me. And I would basically, if you can figure out your sleeping pattern, don't worry about trying to fit your life around some guy that you look up to, maybe like David Goggins or something like that, if your sleeping pattern doesn't match that. If you have a sleeping pattern where you're someone who works better later, someone who works better in like the middle of the day or something like that, don't kill yourself trying to match someone that you really admire who gets up at 5 a.m. because you may not have a sleeping pattern that matches him, okay? Just be aware of that. Don't beat yourself up because you're not your heroes. The next thing I want to talk about is how to approach work in the morning when you first get up. I like to try and get something done before noon every day, even though I'm kind of like a later worker. As long as I get something done before noon, I typically feel better about the day, especially when I was first starting. When I was first starting and my minimum was really low and I was expecting to put like 2 hours of work a day in. I was still working 9 to 5 as well. I would try and get something done towards my goals before noon. Even if I was at work, I would still try and do something at work that was kind of towards my goals. This leads me into Eat That Frog, which is a book by Brian Tracy, which is like an anti-procrastination tip. So if you're trying to start work and you can't start work because, I don't know, it just seems very overwhelming, you pick the one thing you don't want to do and do that first. And it's quite a interesting thing that does, because you do the worst task first and then you just have an easier rest of the day and you have momentum from completing that terrible task. It's really well designed for procrastinators, but it is kind of difficult because you have to force yourself to do something you don't want to do fairly early in the morning. Now, this is why both the get things done before noon thing and the eat the frog idea, I do my editing first, because the editing it's kind of a grind for me to do editing. Like you just got to go through and keep checking out for errors and, getting rid of slip ups from the guys who are doing myself or the other person I do editing for. And it requires some level of creative thought, but not as much as other things do. So I do it first thing in the morning when my brain isn't fully functioning in the way I want it to, but it is good enough to do the editing. And once I get 2 hours of editing out the way in the morning, I have eaten my worst frog. So that's why I put the editing first. So yeah, eat the frog first thing in the morning, get your worst task done before noon, even if it's not your most productive hours. Just try and get something out of the way. You'll feel way better about the rest of the day once you get something nasty out of the way first thing in the morning. Next, we're going to move into a section about accountability and how to find accountability for your productivity. I'm really big on journaling, especially for guys who are first starting out in their self-development. This also leads into to-do lists. So a lot of guys will merge their journal and their to-do list. So at the end of the day, they'll post up their to-do list and then you'll see whether they checked off a bunch of their to-do lists. And that's kind of a big part of a lot of guys' journals. If you see on our forum, or if you're in the coaching program, or you've seen in our Discord for the coaching program as well, this is huge. Guys will have their morning to-do list ready to go from the night before a lot of the time. This is how I recommend doing to-do lists as well. The last thing you can do every single day is write your to-do list for tomorrow. And the last thing you do before a day off is writing your to-do list for the day you come back. This is beautiful because it means you don't have to worry in the morning about what you're going to do. And it means when you come back from a long break, you know exactly what you're going to be doing on that first day back. This removes a lot of procrastination in the morning about figuring out what you're going to be doing for that day, which sometimes you can get stuck on. When it comes to that journal too, I recommend putting it somewhere people can see it. That's why I mentioned the forums or the coaching program. You want other guys to like see that you're doing this stuff for accountability purposes, because guys will come in and, ask questions about why you didn't do certain things. This can be a little bit confronting maybe, but it's really helpful to have guys not like on your back, but guys who have your back, guys who are going to like want you to succeed and sort of push you when you're not, doing what you say you're going to do. I think it's good to do that. I think it's good to have that level of accountability. The best thing you can do is have a one-on-one accountability partner. So you and another guy team up, you tell each other what you're working on, and you do accountability calls. Some guys do these daily. I think you can get away with doing it weekly. Monthly might be too little, but at the end of the week, you give your accountability partner a call and you and him swap notes on what you got achieved in that week. On a daily basis, you can just send messages to each other, send that journal to-do list to him, say what you checked off, or her even, say what you checked off, say what you did. This is really helpful. I really struggled with the idea of being productive when I was essentially working for myself, because right now I'm doing work for Andy, obviously, but for all of my other projects, it's like it's all on me. Like I'm setting my own schedule pretty much throughout the week. Like 99% of the week is my own schedule. And it's good to have accountability partners, because I've lost that accountability of having to report to like a boss or having someone give me my workload to do. I'm setting my own workload. So yeah, this is really, really, really helpful. Outside of the journals, the other place I have to-do lists are my whiteboards, and I would be lost without my whiteboards. I have 2 different whiteboards for 2 of my different projects. I'm going to get a third one because I'm actually working 3 projects at the same time at the moment. Yeah, I would be completely lost. I wouldn't know where the hell I am. The whiteboards are amazing. Like being able to rub off, when you complete something on the list. I can't recommend having whiteboards enough. It makes you feel like a real live business productive person to have a whiteboard. And these keep me accountable to myself to some degree. Like I can go up there, and if something's been sat there for 2 weeks, I'm like, yo, why haven't I got around to this? Why is this even on the board, And that does happen occasionally. I just walk past stuff and be like, oh, I deprioritized that for so long. It's now not even worth it. Let's just get rid of it. But there will be stuff where it's like, that's been on there for too long. I need to do something about it. I think accountability is so important that you should try all of these things and see which ones motivate you the most. Try the accountability with yourself in terms of the lists and the whiteboards. Try accountability with the open world, like the forums, whatever, just like any random guys seeing what you're writing. There's something about putting it online into the open that, for a lot of guys makes them want to like stick to their word. And then one-on-one, you can build a relationship with someone, have that accountability partner. You have each other's back. You're always there for each other. You're going to motivate each other. So figure out which type of accountability works best for you, but you do need something. I think some guys can do it with themselves. Like, do have the to-do lists. They'll be very accountable to themselves. But if you can't, try other people, try having accountability with other people. You can also hire a coach, by the way. Check our links down below if you want to get in for hardcore group coaching, where we will keep you accountable and we will motivate you and back you up when you're having difficult times. Last thing I'm going to talk about and present to you is a 365 challenge. Of all the stuff that Andy recommends, all the stuff he's had on his channel, I don't think there's anything that's broken my laziness more than the 365 challenge. Agreeing to do this and seeing it through, and now being in my second one, and I think Andy's in like his 4th 365 challenge or something crazy. It's just this commitment to a level of productivity that a lot of guys don't do. Like a lot of normal people out there, they've never done anything like a 365 challenge, especially if it's like making content and putting content out there. Doing something a little bit more hardcore, doing something that requires consistent action for a whole year, it's like a paradigm shift in your mind. Like I still have all the desire to be lazy. I still don't want to get up in the mornings. I still don't want to do the shit. But I'm going to do it anyway because I proved to myself with the 365 challenge that I could do this. And proving to yourself that you could do something like that is a huge mental shift. So I can't talk about it enough. So a 365 challenge, just to go back up a second and explain what it is. You pick something that you're going to do every single day towards one of your goals for a whole year, and you make this challenge by getting to the end of the year and having done it. And there's a huge amount of say pride and accountability to saying, I'm going to do this. I commit to doing this. There are tons of guys on the forums right now who are in the middle of their projects. You can do something creative. You can do something not so creative. Maybe you can do something social. Some guys do stuff like, I'm going to do whatever I want for 365 days. I've seen that one, as in like, I'm going to, be true to what I want to do. You can do what me and Andy do creative ones. Some guys do outreach. They're sending out emails to prospective clients every single day for a year. We've seen guys do like instruments. So there'll be, I think someone played a cello and learnt a piece every single day for a year. Seen guys do languages, learning a language, doing practice speaking Spanish, I think it was, every single day for a year. These are like an intensive year-long boot camp. It's very confronting to wake up in the morning for every day for a year and know that you need to meet this challenge. I've seen stuff like 75 Day Hard and stuff like that. And yeah, anything up to about around 90 days is a good challenge too. But man, 365, like a whole year is long. Like I think I'm like 2/3 of the year in, and I can see the finish line, but it's still like far away. Yeah, I'm still having to do like daily content. I'm doing a short a day, by the way. And that confronting reminder every single day that you have to do something and you have a minimum to meet. And if you don't, then you fail. Like if you fail one day, you failed the entire year, It's there. And this keeps you so on your toes and keeps you moving forward. And you'll be so much better at whatever you started at the end of the year than you will be at the beginning of the year. So I thoroughly recommend 365 challenges. They seem crazy. They sound crazy. They're definitely crazy when you're doing it. You'll definitely hate me for suggesting it if you do start one, but it will paradigm shift you, as we like to say. It'll be like the turning point where you go from the lazy person to the productive person, where you no longer worry about the fact that you feel like a lazy person, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I identify as a lazy person. It doesn't matter if I want to be lazy, because I'm doing shit, because I'm getting stuff done. I'm being productive. So my self-identification means nothing, That's the entire point of this guide, really, is I identify as someone who wants to be lazy, but I get shit done anyway. And if you want to get more shit done, follow all this advice, but you can also consider signing up for the coaching program. Andy also offers $200 calls if you want to chat to him one-on-one. Those are good introductory guides to what it's like to, be coached by me and him. Otherwise, I'll see you again for the next video. Peace out till next time.